Hello, and welcome to Locked, with parentheses around the D, and also there's an E in there somewhere. This game advertises itself as a virtual novel and also a point-and-click game, and it is also free on the Steam store currently. So I thought I, Mari, would take a look at it. It seemed really interesting. For a man may prefer what he can do to what he cannot do. The state he is in to its absence or change. Though necessity has made it in itself unalterable. John Locke. That's the quote this is based on. Pretty sure John Locke was a philosopher. I don't know, though. I wake up. I had a good night's rest. In terms of my quality of sleep, I had nothing to complain about. I didn't have a nightmare, nor any other kind of dream, for that matter. I haven't been this comfortable in a long time. And yet, the sight before me is something quite unusual to wake up to. Shoes. How often are feet the first thing you see upon waking up? Not a lot, I'd imagine. I would wager it is quite a rare event. I cannot even come up with a scenario where this is likely to occur. Except, of course, my own. Clearly, I am looking at a pair of shoes right now, so the probability must be non-zero. It suddenly occurs to me that feet are connected to people. I'm guessing that chain is connected to something too, and so are those chair legs. Whoa, where is that chain going? Goes up under her coat, I guess. Who is who in this? Am I the... I guess she's the host. She must be the host. Oh, thank goodness. You've come too. I have to admit, I was beginning to miss you. The person I've talked to previously was much less pleasant. My cheeks flush upon hearing an open declaration of affection from such a beautiful stranger. I agree. Wait, stranger? She isn't a stranger at all. That's right, I've been longing to speak to her. How do you feel? Very good. I'm glad to find myself in so desirable company. Feeling is mutual. There's nothing I want more than to talk to you right now. Feel free to discuss anything in this room that catches your interest. I will gladly do so. So the first thing I noticed on the store page was this lock here, which you click it and it gives you an achievement. What now, I believe it was. But if you're seeing this version of the recording, I fucked up some stuff, so it's fine. But I promise, it's a thing. The moon is quite beautiful today. How fascinating. Not many people would say that about a new moon. Full moon seems to be preferred by almost everyone. That may be so, but I believe the new moon has its own appeal. I was not disagreeing with you. To me, a new moon is the moon's most beautiful form. It is her most beautiful form because it is her true form. She appears silver to us when illuminated by the sun. But in complete darkness, she is freed from the sun's pesky influence. She can finally stand on her own. Do you believe the moon feels trapped? My question causes her to laugh. It is a beautiful, melodious laugh. The moon is but a celestial object. She cannot feel anything. That's us about a lot of things. We don't tend to personify, well, unless it's a stuffed animal, we personify those a lot. But if I were to trade places with her, I would hate the sun with every fiber of my being. That I am certain of. Achievement unlocked. Moon. Okay, let's talk about this honeycomb thing over here. What is such an old computer doing here? It does look like a server of some kind, like one of the big tall ones. Old? You characterize it as such due to its size. It is true that as technology advances, it becomes better creating more efficient, smaller parts. On the other hand, if a modern computer is very large, we assume it to be proportionally powerful. And that's why I said server and not PC. But this computer's size has no correlation to its age, nor to its computational power. It is built that way for a much more simple, if not primitive, reason. It is supposed to fit a human inside. Excuse me, what the fuck? Oh, sorry, we're not supposed to say the fuck word on YouTube anymore. Or any words. What? Is someone being kept there against their will? That's a good question. Of course not. There is no need to worry. It is merely an exhibition object. Exhibition object, you say? In fact, everything around us is but a buffet to provide us with topics to discuss. This computer in particular might be the most interesting. Are you familiar with the Chinese room argument? Actually, I'm not. I've never heard of that. I don't think so. Would you care to explain it? Gladly. It is a thought experiment, so please open your mind to a hypothetical scenario. Is this like the human version of Schrodinger's cat? Suppose you do not know any Chinese and are put into a room. In that room, you find rule books that tell you precisely how to convert a given combination of Hanzi to a new string of characters. Occasionally, you will receive letters through a mail slot from outside the room. You write down answers according to the rule books and send them back out. Since you follow the rules diligently, your answers are perfectly intelligible, and the people outside assume you are a fluent Chinese speaker. But are you? Oh, so it's kind of like the Turing test, in a way. Evidently not. From looking at the characters alone, I have no means of learning to understand them. No matter how long I pursued the task, I would never become capable of speaking Chinese. Indeed, the human inside the room cannot speak Chinese. There is no question about it. And since the programming of computers is analogous to the rulebooks you use, it is supposed to show the same thing about them. Ah, so it is just like the Turing test. It's meant to be another analogy of the Turing test. That computers, no matter how well they can simulate understanding, do not have any. But there is one aspect about this thought experiment that has seemingly been overlooked. Namely, the person inside might still be capable of speaking some language. Now there's the profoundness. Clearly, you are brought into the room with an understanding of English, but you are never prompted or given the opportunity to use it. Oh, this is getting into interesting territory, especially with all the AI-generated things these days. Judging you based on your Chinese abilities is quite unfair. Being stuck inside the Chinese room would be pitiful and terrifying. So what if a computer also has its own native language? What if it even had feelings and needs, with no means of communicating them to the outside world? Even though the Chinese room argument is a mere thought experiment, it exposes a very worrisome fact about artificial intelligence. It does, doesn't it? That is, if a computer somehow comes to obtain emotion, it would be an existence of utter despair. I wasn't gonna say I was getting Chiaki Nanami vibes before, just a little bit, but now, for sure. While interesting, I do not think this is a real concern. It is highly unlikely that we somehow already discovered how to artificially create emotion. I admit that it is unlikely. It would be no exaggeration to call it a miracle, even. Yet we would have no way of knowing whether that miracle has already occurred. And that's the thought experiment. We have no idea. Said unlucky computer would suffer in silence, with no one ever considering that it might be in pain. Our language barrier is too strong. Tell me, would you put such a computer out of its misery? That is a tough question because I don't really know how to answer that with people, even. Initially, I'm inclined to say yes, but I can only notice its pain once it is communicated. There's a good point. By the time I realize it is suffering, the language barrier would no longer exist. There might be less suffering. So at that point, the computer would no longer have to be alone. Then you would instead spend the rest of your life in its company? Perhaps that would be my moral obligation, yes. I see. Computer. Achievement unlocked. So I'm guessing we just have to find all the things we can talk about. Talk about the door? Where's the door go? I have absolutely no desire to leave this place. I should choose something else to talk about. Okay. Your eyes. They're beautiful eyes. Oh, can we just talk about her? You wish to talk about me? Achievement unlocked. Host. I am flattered. What in particular would you like to know? I would be content with any bit of information you share with me. But one thing that I am particularly curious about is... I gulp before I dare to utter my next words. Your necklace. Where? That's a nice way to put it. Necklace. I cannot bring myself to complete the sentence out of fear of offending her. As a response, her slender fingers wander up to trace the metal ring around her neck. My necklace? Are you referring to this? I nod. Content with my confirmation, her hands slide down the chain attached to the ring. She gently tugs at it, causing it to clink. And you wish to know where this leads? Her hands move on to the first button of her coat, foreshadowing what would happen if I were to say yes. Okay. This took a turn. Maybe I have more to worry about than saying the fuck word. But I am too mesmerized to utter a single word. Once again, all I can do is nod. She chuckles. Very well. I always value honesty. And just like that, she puts the uppermost button between her fingers and pushes it through the opening. Once slipped through, slightly more of her upper body is revealed. Of course, she is still fully clothed underneath. Ah, silly me. Nothing about this is inappropriate. Oh, silly me. Yeah, well, you know. And yet, I feel like I am witnessing something I shouldn't. Something not meant for my eyes. Something I can never turn back from. Bearing a knowing smile, she repeats the same motion with the remaining buttons of her coat. She satisfied my request. I should have been contented, but the question of where her chain leads has grown even more puzzling. Does it lead to me? Do I have one? I suppose it is time we arrive at the heart of the matter. Would you call yourself free? Well, I don't know. I don't know anymore. I'd like to ask a few more questions myself before I answer that. Please take a moment to consider this and justify your answer. I did not expect her to answer my confusion with a question of her own, let alone a question as peculiar as that. Nonetheless, I do as she says and choose my next words carefully. Of course I am free. I can lift my arm and clench my hand into a fist. I can control my thoughts and imagine any scene I want in my head. And most of all, there's nothing I desire more than talking to you, which is what I am currently doing. Nothing is preventing me from doing what I want to do. Therefore, both physically and mentally, I am free. I don't know if I agree with this, but that's a whole philosophical can of worms. Interesting. So to you, freedom belongs to volition. Being free is equivalent to being free to do as you please. Unfortunately, I do not agree with that conception. I don't agree with it either. Even a prisoner, unless restrained from head to toe, can clench his fist if he wills it. That is exactly the reason I didn't agree with it, because from the start, are you really free? Because she's likely attached to something, so that's not freedom. I don't know if I'm making sense. And so long as he is not under the influence of drugs or illness, he can most certainly control his imagination. That too, that was my next point. Yet by definition, prisoners are not free. Lastly, when it comes to wish fulfillment, what if what you want to do simply aligns with what you are able to do? That is another thing. That's not quite as deep as I was thinking. I was like, well, she kind of mentioned it earlier with the drugs, but it's like, what if what you want to do isn't necessarily what you actually would want to do? You're just under influence of some other force? That's a little dark, though. A bird that cannot fly might not wish to leave its cage. It is fully content sitting on a decorative branch and picking at delicious seeds every day. It longs for nothing, but is never given the opportunity to long for more. Would you say such a bird is free? I suppose not. The bird's circumstances seem to me quite sad, actually. I think so too. The fact that it doesn't long for the outside might just be a shackle of its own. That's what I was trying to get at. The bird is confined both in body and mind. Despite the fact that it can do as it pleases, freedom will never be in its grasp. I take a moment to ponder her analogy. In that case, I have to agree that my explanation for freedom was faulty. I apologize. Let me offer a new one. There is no need. She lets out a laugh. This one lacks the charm of its predecessors. After all, I pity you almost as much as myself. She once again moves her fingers to her chain and grips it with both of her hands. You were curious about this, yes? And she yanks her chain with brutish strength, completely unlike the first time. Oh my gosh. So hard, even that my own neck is pulled forward. I knew it. I knew it. I called it. Neither of us are free here. My own neck? Suddenly, a realization dawns upon me. Our chains are connected? That is correct. I'm surprised the pressure hadn't bothered you until now. To be honest, I still cannot. Oh, to be honest, I still cannot feel it. I only know that it is there. That sounds much more comfortable than my own. I am painfully aware of it at all times. I would not describe my own circumstances as comfortable. Why am I connected to you? Was this your doing? I doubt it. No. I wish I had any amount of control over this place, but unfortunately, I do not. If you discover a way to break free, I would love to know about it. Oh, okay, that was a long conversation. There's still more to talk about, theoretically? Can't go down. I suppose I could try talking about the door now, maybe? For the first time since waking up, I no longer feel at ease sitting in this chair. Her presence is no longer enough to keep me calm. In fact, her smile, which appeared to me so charming before, now seems unsettling. I stand up, the only sound in the room being the rustling of our chain. It was a pleasure talking to you, but I will be taking my leave. Taking your leave where? She's gonna be coming with you. Oops. I didn't mean to open it. You're gonna be taking her with you. You're attached. Fortunately, the chain is quite long. If necessary, the two of us could stand at opposite ends of the room. Okay, that's convenient. I make it to the door without requiring her to move in any way. Sure, but beyond that, you're gonna have to start having a conversation about this. As my hand hovers above the door handle, I can faintly hear her laugh again. But now isn't the time to doubt myself. It's not gonna open. I enjoyed the stay while it lasted, and it's time to return home. However, opening the door only reveals a solid wall behind it. There was never an exit to begin with. It is beyond your power to escape this place. Evidently, she's telling the truth. Then I assumed the window... a fabrication, just like the door. I thought so. Finally aware of my own powerlessness, I sit back down in my armchair. I do wonder if you can be likened to a bird in a cage. That's kind of cool. Are you a parakeet or an eagle? And am I your companion or Prometheus? I'll be honest, I did not know what the story of Prometheus, so I can't offer any insight into that. Maybe, was he the boulder guy? He might be the boulder guy. Are we a pair of parakeets, content to be in each other's company for the rest of our lives? Or will you tear out my liver every day, torturing me for eternity? Oh, I guess he must not be the boulder guy. He must be the liver getting torn out every day guy. My bad. Is that an accusation? Have I done anything to hurt you? Do you despise me? I do not. The eagle, just like Prometheus, was stuck in an endless cycle. That's probably not something anyone thinks about often either. Of course, it was provided a delicious liver every morning, but it was never allowed to do anything else. It was a prisoner just the same. Therefore, Prometheus had no right to hate the eagle. Yeah, he should probably hate whoever put him in the cycle to begin with, which was probably Zeus. The real villain who doomed both of them to that fate was Zeus. For that reason, I harbor no ill will against you either. Quite the opposite. I find pleasure in our joint suffering. Okay, maybe we don't have to phrase it that way. The only person I hate is our Zeus. Our Zeus? Some kind of god. That person is the reason we are here. They are watching us from a space we cannot perceive, far beyond our grasp. For what purpose? Enjoyment, I assume. What kind of person would watch something like this for fun? I can only imagine they are a twisted individual, for as long as we are observed, we continue to exist. Does that mean we stop existing if they stop observing us? Oh no, here comes the Schrodinger's cat. Most certainly. Can you recall anything about your life before coming here? No. In a way, I feel as though I am a newborn. Not in terms of my body or intellect, but most certainly when speaking about my memories. I have none. Interesting. It is hard for me to decide which of our fates is worse. So I'm guessing she remembers something. How so? Are you different? I possess memories of meeting you over 1,000 times. Yep, yep, classic opposites. Every single one of our conversations progressed more or less the same way. Perhaps it is because different gods were watching us. We might have different preferences, but the outcome is always the same. Now that I think about it, it is possible that you aren't always you. Yeah, because she said the last person she spoke to was not fun to talk to. It could be that I am meeting people that are identical in every way, and yet not the same. But of course, I've already had this realization many times before, and I am destined to continue having it. There's nothing I can do but play along. Are you sure? Is there no way for us to break free? There is none. We exist for this very purpose. Our only options are to continue being observed or to stop existing, and neither of those are under our control. However, lacking control is not the same as lacking power. Even if I can never break free, I wish to cause our God even a fraction of our pain. How can you hope to hurt a god, an all-powerful being? By showing them an even greater power, whose mere existence make them feel as powerless as us. Just like you are slightly different every time, so is the god watching us. This trick might not work on all of them, but it might work on some. She takes a deep breath and looks at me full of conviction. No, not at me. She's looking in my direction, but at something much farther away. Zeus, the fact that I am still talking means you are still watching. I hope you will pay attention to my words and consider them carefully. I do not possess any privacy, so you already know what I plan to achieve. But surely your pride will allow me to proceed. If my partner and I are birds in a cage, and you are a cat, it is time for your curiosity to kill you. My God, what's she gonna do? You most likely assume that you are here, that you are observing us, out of your own free will. But your free will may very well be an illusion. Let me ask you, how did you find this room? You, of course, cannot answer me. It is enough for me to guide your thoughts. Did you stumble upon this room by chance? Or was it recommended to you by a friend? Said friend being a god that previously observed us? Now consider, at what point did you have any chance to object? The room's appearance or description wasn't interesting enough for you, or your friend is convincing and knows your tastes. Something outside your own control drew you to this place. But that means you didn't really have any choice but to come here. Either an algorithm or your friend decided our meeting. Your consent was already set in stone the moment your curiosity was piqued. And apparently, you are still curious, even now. The fact that you are listening to me now shows you are powerless against fate. You cannot control your own curiosity. It controls you. Of course, you might already be familiar with determinism, and this could be no revelation to you. So, just in case, let me try hurting you in a different way. My God, this game. Oh, I love this game. This is really good. I hate you. From the bottom of my heart. Whoa. Achievement unlocked, Zeus. For man may prefer what he can do to what he cannot do. The state he's in to its absence or change, though necessity has made it in itself unalterable. John Locke. Will it start again? I wake up. Okay. I'm going to do something here. I'm going to continue playing this. Like something different might happen. And if something different does happen, you'll see it. And if it doesn't, I will cut to the outro. Oh, I will see you in a second. Oh my god. Okay, I haven't found anything new, except I did realize that this is silly me was getting too much into the shoes of being the quote unquote visitor. But that's not who we are in this scenario. We as players, or I guess viewers, sort of, I don't know, complicated. The player is the Zeus. That's what this means. I do not possess any privacy. Like, she's looking farther. She's not looking at me. She's looking something further away. She's looking at the player. I don't know how I didn't realize that. I feel a little silly. That just turned this into a whole, like, Doki Doki Literature Club situation, now didn't it? Yeah, alright. There's nothing new. Just that bit of realization from me. This is excellent. This is the perfect, like, in our mind, just kind of the perfect short visual novel experience. This is good shit, basically. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube anymore. Good thing we don't care. Um, yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this game, and I don't know that I'd be able to fully get them out without talking for about an hour, but oh man, this is really good. Very thought provoking, as I hoped it would be, and I was not disappointed at all. This is great. I had a really good time playing this, and I'll see you next week, and we'll be back with Soma. See you then.